Hello, my lovelies. It's me, author Alexandria Infante, coming to you with a new review. So now remember, I'm not able to get back into my computer until the 24th, the 20th, 24th, somewhere around there. So we won't be able to do the submission authors until then. So for now, we are substituting the submission authors with the Amazon downloads that Jen and I have been doing for the last 2 weeks. So now tonight's author, it's kind of a change. Tonight's author writes interracial romance, but she is Caucasian and she writes an African American character. At least for this book. This is the first book that I've ever read by her. She is an indie author, and it is basically a short read. It isn't more than, I believe it's 45 pages, 35, 45, somewhere around there. And so, since today is Saturday, I just thought I'd pop in with a little short, because normally I don't, excuse me, I don't do, or I try not to do reviews on Saturdays unless I actually skip the day and then I try to make up for it. So now today is a short read, and I thought it was kind of unique because I remember another indie author who wrote she wrote a African American character, and what was her name? I think it was Diane Connor or something like that. Colleen Collins, something. I'm so sorry, I forgot. But she wrote an African American character, and this was a bit of years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And when her book first came out, it got some really bad reviews because people were like, how can she write a black character when she is white, and what is up with this, blah 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 blah. And so they actually trashed the book, but I read the book. It was an erotic BDSM book, and I thought it was very good. And I like if no one would have told me that the author was actually Caucasian, I would have never known, because it didn't strike me as so much different from the way, us Afro Latina, Black, Afro people are. The character was just a character, it was a person. So she tried to make her a person, and race wasn't really a big, huge factor in it. And so I thought she did a really good job, but she did get some bad reviews because, a lot of people of color weren't happy that she wrote that book, or they felt like, how can you know the plight of a person of color when you're white? And so, but I thought the book was good for what it was. It was an erotic romance. And so I didn't think it needed to go that deep. Maybe if it was something that happened that was actually, something prevalent to today's times, like the fact that, the majority of people getting coronavirus are minorities and people of color, because people of color have been so, short-sighted through basically the beginning of time, that most of us don't have the same healthcare, the same economic status, all of that stuff that most white Americans have. So we have a lot of pre-existing diseases that people may not have even known about. And so that is why the pockets are just killing us off like crazy, because of the fact that we are minorities and we don't have access to the same things that white America does. And so these stupid people who still aren't wearing your mask, I don't even know. I don't even understand. But I'll talk about that at the end. But anyway, so I wanted to see what this book was all about. It, like I said, it's a short. It's only 35, 45 pages, so it's not very long. It's free right now, because a lot of the books that we're doing right now, because of like the coronavirus and that kind of stuff, Jen will go online and like search Amazon for freebies so people can be entertained without having to pay right now, because a lot of people don't have the funds to go and buy books right now. And so we are searching out freebies, and that basically nearly every book that's on this site is free. Now, the submission authors, those books aren't free unless the author actually tells us that the books are going to be running for free this month. But every book that Jen and I get from Amazon, we do that on purpose so readers can go out and get these books for free and not have to pay for them, because this is hard times. I mean, I have savings right now that I'm so desperately trying not to touch, because my aim is to move back to New York. I'm hoping by August, when I pushed it back to August when I'm leaving, that everything will be good, or at least functionable for me to go back there. And then if I have to wear that freaking mask out every day, then I will, and just take it off when I get to, home. But I'm trying desperately not to touch that, but I still have bills here. I don't have a job anymore. And so, we're trying to find things that will literally benefit you. And so we're looking for all these freebies. So anyway, now tonight's book is called, just one second. Darn it. Okay, the Kindle's acting dumb. Okay, tonight's book is called Locked with Him. And it is a contemporary romance. And it is called it's basically Locked with Him, and then it's With Her Billionaire Romance. And it's by author Ellen Dominick. Here is the cover. There it is right there. It is an interracial romance. Okay, so now the main character in this book is Penny. And Penny is a librarian. And so basically she is like a blurred. I don't know if Caucasian people out there know what a blurred is. But a blurred or lured is basically either a black nerd or a Latina nerd. And they call them a blurred or a lured. So anyway, so now she is a librarian, and she's below in the stacks. And so she's pretty much telling you about her life, going to school, becoming a librarian, being a blurred, and having this immense, insane love for books, which is the reason why she decided to major in library science. So, basically, she's telling you all of this stuff, and then, all of a sudden, she's like pretty much in her, she's just like pretty pensive, and she's putting the books back and checking to make sure there are no stragglers actually in the library, because they're getting close to closing time, but not really yet. It's like maybe an hour or two before they actually close. And then all of a sudden, Linda, one of the other librarians, she comes downstairs and she's like, "Are you ready?" And she's like, "Ready for what?" And she's like, "To go." And she's like, "What do you mean go?" And she looks at her watch and she's like, "It's like 2:00. We don't close till 5, and then basically, and then she's like, she's like, "Oh crap." And she smacks her head and she's like, "Obviously you've been in the stacks all day." And she's like, "Pretty much." And she's like, "Well, I guess you didn't know that a blizzard is coming." And she's like, she finally looks at her, and she has on scarf, beanie, gloves, big overcoat, snow boots, all that stuff. And she's like, "Yes, it was on the weather. I mean, the Weather Channel just announced it. There is a blizzard coming, and it's like nothing we've had in the last 50 years. They don't know if it's because of global warming or, just climate change, all that stuff. So basically, we need to go. The administrators have closed down the library, so let's go." And she's like, "Oh, well, crap, I'm not ready, blah, 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 blah." And so they pretty much have this conversation of her being like, come on. She's like, finally, just go. You know, you have to go and pick up your little sister. So she shouldn't be out in this. Just go and get her. And then, you know, I'll make sure there's no stragglers in the library. And then I'll lock up and I'll leave. And so she's like, okay. So Linda's like, pinky swear. They, you know, do a little pinky swear, leave, whatever. And so she's checking the library to make sure that there aren't any stragglers. And so then she goes into like the rare book finds. Basically, I'm one of those people that she's talking about that will be down in the rare book section, the ancient texts, all of that stuff. That's just who I am as a person. And so, she was the Penny, which is the main character, Penelope. She was complaining basically that no one ever goes there for any of that anymore, except for like maybe students trying to have sex or whatever. But no one actually goes to read, and I'm one of those people who will sit there for hours and just, oh my God, just the smell of old books is like erotic to me. But anyway, so she gets down to that rare book section and she sees a guy like standing there and she's like, wait, what? How come I didn't see him, or how did I not know that he was down here? And so she like sort of like creeps up on him, not like necessarily, but you know, she walked pretty quiet, and then she peeks over his shoulder and he's reading the Marc de Sade. And so Marquis de Sade. And so she's like, oh. And then she's like, okay. And then finally she's like, okay, the library's closing. And he's like, oh, and then they have this conversation and he's talking about his love for books and he knew of an original, a printed copy of it, but not an original one. Like there's only 3 on the planet. And so he's like, I saw the one in France, but I could only see it through a case. And then I had to use he was like, it was just insane. And then I found out that you guys had it here. And she's like, yes. And then so he was basically like, can I just have a few more minutes with this book? And she's like, no, you know, they've already announced that there's a blizzard, you know, we might get snowed in, all this kind of stuff. Right. And so so finally she gets him to like go, and then she gets her code, all that stuff. And so they're going out of the library. So they get halfway up the drive because now she's freaking out because there's freaking snow everywhere and you can like hear the howling or whatever. And so she gets outside halfway up the thing. And then all of a sudden she's just like, we call it ass over feet or feet over ass or something like that. I forget what it's called. But it's like a given in New York. It's like during the winter season, you are destined to slip on ice. It's just the way it is, you know. I remember that one freaking video someone posted on YouTube. It was this little black man shoveling his not YouTube, Facebook. He was trying to shovel his drive out and he literally fell. Like, you know, like it was a good like 5 minutes. He just threw the shaft out. I was like, damn it, basically. So, I remember one year I fell face first into the snow trying to get across the street to the bodega, and my daughter just sat there laughing and pointing. She was so evil. Anyway, didn't even try to help me up or nothing. She just died. And so basically she slips. And then all of a sudden he catches her. And then he's like, are you insane? We cannot be out in this. And so he pulls her back into the library. She, basically they start searching around. Then the lights go out. Like they searched around for food because now she's like, oh my God, we're trapped. And then her stomach growls. And so they go to the break room. They go, they find like some leftover snacks, and then she remembers that there's a vending machine in the children's section. So they go over to the children's section. She gets a salad, they split it, and then they're just like having a little bit conversation. And she kind of like, comes off as a little antagonistic because like there are certain things that she says, like I'll tell you after I finish the review. After my points of what I didn't, get or whatever. And so, So then they leave that to go because it feels like there's no heat in the place. It's like, what the heck? And so they're walking up the corridor. She's like, oh, hey, let's watch a movie because at least the computers are still on, because she was able to check the weather. And so basically they go try to get out again, and now the door won't budge at all. And so she's like, hey, let's watch a movie. So they're going up the corridor to go and watch Netflix on the computers that they had used earlier to check the weather. And so when they're walking up the corridor, all of a sudden the lights go out. And it's like, what the heck? Now we have no electricity. And so he's like, maybe you should take my hand, blah, 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 blah. We should be careful. She's like, I know this place like the back of my hand. And normally when someone says that, something happens. And so they're walking toward the stairs. And they have to go down the, like, 2 flights of, or like winding stairs. I can't remember exactly what it was. But anyway, to get to the lower decks. That's usually how most libraries are. I'm taking for granted that that's what, is like implied here. It's like you usually go down at least 1 flight of stairs. And so the stacks from the ancient texts and rare finds is usually upstairs. And the ancient texts. And then you have the middle. This is just my, libraries that I've been to, and then down on the basement level is where you normally have like the rare finds, the ancient texts, all of that stuff. And so they have to go down to that level because that was the level she was on when she was putting all the books back. And so, so she goes to take the stairs and her foot slips, and so she's pretty much stepping into air, and he catches her while she's like in her mind, like, oh my God, I almost died, all this kind of stuff. And so then he kisses her, and then she's like, what, are you only trying to kiss me because so you could tell your buddies that you kissed a black chick, blah 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 blah. And so he's just like, I'm like, drink. Anyway, and so she's like, she like wrenches away from him, and then she goes downstairs. Anyway, when she gets to the bottom, she like falls, and so she's just sitting there. And then finally he comes downstairs. He's calling her name like, Penelope, are you okay? Blah 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 blah. And he's got like his phone flashlight, and then he sees her sitting on the floor, and then she basically had this like mental soliloquy, and then she starts crying, and then he's like, that's not what I meant, blah 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 blah. And then they start kissing, and then they start fondling each other, which this scene was really weird to me. But anyway, and they start fondling each other. They have some, some petting, that kind of stuff. And then they finish, and he's like, no, I never said that that's what I wanted. And he was like, I do want to tell my friends about you, but not in the way that you think. And then they all of a sudden hear this scraping sound, and then so they get up and they race upstairs because now it sounds like it's like a humming and scraping. So they realize that they're trying to dig them out, and then so they're both banging on the door like, help, we're in here, And then finally the door opens, and it's all this light and all these people, and then they just start snapping pictures, and then you find out that he's billionaire. Oops. He's billionaire Marcus, I believe. Let me look it up because I don't want to be saying stuff. Untruths. Not untruths, but untruths. I'm going to speak some Ebonics here. Untruths. And so, yeah, so basically, the door opens. Okay. Yeah, the door opens, and he's billionaire mogul Matthew Amon DeFore. So then basically she realizes who he is, and she's like, oh my God. And then the book ends. So it ends on a cliffhanger. Now, my notes. Okay, so I had a lot of issues with this book, even though it was a short. It was a short, but yeah. Okay. So now my first issue. Okay, so I don't really read contemporary romance. Anytime I read a contemporary romance, it's usually someone's asked me to, or Jen will send me one and be like, hey, this one sounds kind of good, even though she doesn't read contemporary romance either. Like, we started reading them because we wanted to feature them on the channel. So before that, neither one of us really read. I mean, it was like a rarity, like a serious rarity. I used to write contemporary romance. Like, I have 19 books and they're still out there, but I haven't written a contemporary. Like, I wrote one last year, but that was only because I decided to finish, or like to add another book to the Chef's Like It Hot series, which is the spicy chef series. That I can deal with. I can't deal with, no offense, and I'm not trying to be mean or ugly to anyone, but I can't deal with contemporary romance readers, especially not the Black women, white men, or the interracial ones, because I feel like it's just not my cuppa. And so, and the comments and the reviews and the things that they do and leave, I'm not feeling that. So I basically said I'm never writing another contemporary romance, because I don't think that it's appropriate to tell someone, something like, you're not Black, so you shouldn't be writing about Black people. So basically, I decide I don't even want to be in that genre anymore. So I don't write contemporary anymore. So I never really read them in the first place. And then after, the vicious reviews like that to some of my books, because that's pretty much what they told me. I decided I don't even want to deal with that. So the 19 books are out there. If you guys ever want to read any of them, they're also under Alexandria Infante, but I won't be writing any more past that. I have to end the Graves Review series, which is basically, it's a mystery murder crime. And the book, it's a serial. It's not actually a series. The books do go to 100 pages, but I still consider it a serial, because I normally write, like, one of my paranormals, you're not getting less than 200 pages. So the most I've written was 600 pages. And so, basically, I don't write it anymore, except for those two series. And so I don't read it. So basically, Jen was sending all of these so we could incorporate contemporary romance into the channel as well. But the one thing I'm not getting is, why are all these women 21? I feel like Miss Trenchable. Why are all these women married? Because why are they all 21? I'm not getting that. Every single book that I've nearly read in this genre, the character is like 21 years old. What do you know at 21? I'm just really, like, I'm boggled by that, because one, what happened to an attractive, beautiful woman of color that's 35, that's 45, that's 50? I don't think I look that bad. I'm 51 years old. So I don't understand that why all of these women have to be 21 years old. You don't know your ass from a hole in the ground at 21. I'm sorry. That's just the truth. And so in this book, she is a librarian. That right there just threw me off and rubbed me the wrong way, because no, she isn't. She can't be. Not at 21 years old. If you take into consideration the fact that she went to college straight out of high school, she still would be, actually, she's 22 in this book. That's right. So the characters in contemporary romance usually range from 21 to 27, 28. They usually don't go past that, which I just don't even freaking understand. So she would not be 22 years old. Because first off, unless she is a genius, which she never qualified in the book. She never said this girl was a genius. Even if she went to school straight out of high school, it takes 4 years for a bachelor's degree. All right. She could have majored in library science, which is cool. Then she would have turned around and did her master's in library science. Then broke off to whatever specific discipline she wanted. And even then, it would have taken her 2 to 3 extra years after that. So the character would have been 26 years old. And she still wouldn't be a full-fledged librarian because she has no time under her belt. So that was BS to me. Or you see some corporate CEO at 25 years old. Maybe that might be a little bit more believable, but not a full-fledged librarian. And even though she says that there is another, the head librarian, which would be the woman who has the master's and probably the PhD and all that other kind of stuff. But she still would not be a librarian at 22 years old unless she was a freaking, savant, or unless she basically came out of school as a genius. Actually read, there is a book down there that is total library science. His characters are like in college and they're not actually librarians, they're library clerks. So if she was a clerk, there would be a big difference and it would be more believable. But for her to be an actual librarian, no, so that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And then, take my glasses off. And then, let's see what else. I had some actual issues. Okay. That was that. Okay, and then she said his name way too much. This was a book that was only 35 pages. Maybe 45. I can't remember exactly. You know what? Hold on just a second. I believe this book was 35 pages. And she said his name, I would swear, like every other sentence. And I just wanted to scream, we know his name. I'm not trying to be mean, guys. Seriously, I don't want to be that way. So the book is 40 pages. And every other sentence had his name in it. I mean, I just wanted to say it's okay to use pronouns, It won't harm your work as long as they're not repetitive. But his name being repeated over and over, that got very stale very quick. And then, okay, and then the last thing, the author bills this as an erotic romance, which technically it's not. There was a little bit of foreplay on the floor, because when she fell on the floor and he bent down to basically talk to her, there was a little foreplay, but there was no actual sex in this book. So it cannot be considered an erotic romance. And then I don't believe there were any naming of parts and any of that stuff. So the book is 40 pages, and the book is a story, which is what I really, really liked. There were just some issues with it. So if I had to star this book, I would still give her a 3 stars with even the stuff that annoyed me, because of the fact that it's a good read in the beginning, up until, the fact that she's a librarian. I didn't like the fact that she seemed to harp on the fact that she was black. And this might be one of the reasons why people of color have issues when Caucasian people write characters that it's sometimes hard to, assimilate with. So if she was a librarian, depending on where she lives, because if she was in California and she was a black librarian, nobody would go into the library and think, oh, it's weird that she's in there and she's the librarian. If she was a black librarian in New York City, no one would go in there and think she wasn't the librarian because her skin is black. So I don't know where this book takes place because it really doesn't say. And so I'm assuming that is the assumption of wherever this book is and these people, because there's no one would have an issue or even think twice that she was in the library and she was black, or she was Latina, or she was Asian in California, in New York City. So like big cities like that, this wouldn't have been an issue. And so I kind of feel like the author needs to take that out of the book, because it makes it like she has no confidence in herself, makes it like she has issues with her own skin tone and her race. So I think that should come out of the book. Because she said it more than once. So that's the problem right there. If she would have said it once and left it at that, it would have been passable, but not acceptable, because except that means that she feels like she is weak and she needs to be antagonistic to every person who is not, of a black descent. So, she automatically thinks that white people think this of her, or Latin people think this of her, or Asian people think this of her. And no, and that's not true. And so you're making it, that's a stereotype. So I really feel like that needs to be taken out of the book. And then, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. Cause, those were the only issues that I had with the book. And so if I had to start this book, because it was a good read from the beginning, those were just some of the things that I saw in the book that I didn't like. So if I had to start this book, I would still start this book a 3 stars, because of the fact that it was a good story up until that point. And I respected her as an author, and a Caucasian author writing a black character. I just feel like that is the only thing that rubbed me the wrong way out of the entire book, is the fact that the character said twice it was because she was black. And so I feel like she needs to take that out. But the rest of the book is awesome. There were some typos, because we got to tell it like it is. So all she would need to do to get a higher rating for this book is to take that scene out, or take that soliloquy that she's doing in her head out, take that out, the part where she's talking about, being black, no one expecting her to be a black librarian, because that's probably some little one-horse poke town, that someone would think that. So maybe take that out and then correct the typos. And this little short could easily get a 3.5, 4 stars, because it led up to, I thought it was a suspense romance at first, which would have been really cool. Because I didn't even realize that it was a billionaire romance until, after he said that. And then I looked at the cover and I was like, oh, okay, it's a billionaire romance. But it totally could have been a suspense romance, because of the snow, the fact that they're locked in, the fact that he was reading the Marquis de Sade. I mean, all of that stuff could, because the character even says that, I don't know this guy, and he was reading blah, 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 blah. So it could have been a suspense novel. It could have been whatever, but it was a good lead up until that popped up for me. And I overlooked the typos. The typos weren't an issue. So all I would say is change those 2 things, and your book can easily get a 3.5, 4 stars. I'm not exactly sure what the star rating is on this book, and if any actual people of color read the book. I'm not trying to say that in a racist light, or it's just that yeah, see, it has a 3 star. It has a 3.5 star. Let's see. Oh no, there's some 4 star. There's a 5 star. The 1 star, 1 star, 2 stars. Yeah, so let me see what the 1 star said. Almost, nope, I got nothing. For all of the potential of this novella, the brevity of it, which resulted in stunted character. Ooh, I'm not reading this. Oh, that's terrible. Anyway, so basically, I feel like, for a first book, it's okay if she's leading into the series. I think she needs to put on there that this is a serial. Authors really need to start doing that. You really, really, truly need to, because a lot of those 1 stars that you're getting, I can always tell when someone is a new author. It says that she's been writing since 2002, but I would wonder how long she's actually been published as a book writer. Because I would tell everyone who is in the business of writing shorts and novellas, you need to put on there that it is a serial, not a series. Because a series, these are not series. These are serials. Because the books aren't long enough to actually be a book or a novel. They are novellas. And what does a novella do? A novella is the Spanish word for soap opera, drama, romantico. So basically, it is snippets, not a full entire thing. So even though it's a novella, some novellas actually have an ending to them. But if you are going to leave yours on a cliffhanger, you need to put that it is a serial. I'm really, really begging you guys to do this, because those 1-star reviews, they will get knocked out of the box, because people will go in already knowing, oh, okay, hey, this is a serial, so that means it's going to be a cliffhanger. But what a lot of authors will do, and I'm not saying that this is what she did, a lot of authors won't do that because they know readers won't buy the book. But what you're doing is, yeah, you might be getting that 99 cents or whatever it is that you're charging, but you're getting a 1-star for that. And is $2.99 really worth a 1-star for you, or a no stars, or a bad review like that? Because sometimes bad reviews aren't, people say, oh, bad publicity is good publicity. Yeah, it depends on the author. If you're a nobody and no one knows you yet, you don't want that 1-star, because then no one will ever know you. So basically, I really encourage authors who are writing these short stories or these short books, these serials, to mark their books as serials and novellas, and put it and make sure it's somewhere that in the blurb the reader can see serial and novella, or on the first page of the book when they open the book, because there's that little look-see on Amazon, and they will see that it's a novella, and then they won't star your book low like that. And that's pretty much it to this review. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I haven't seen anybody. I haven't seen any shout outs. I haven't heard any, even Tim, I haven't seen him in days. I looked so forward to his little messages of encouragement, but I haven't seen him down there in a couple of days. So I hope you're okay and you're doing safe, Tim. Everybody, please continue to wear your mask. Stay safe and stay healthy. And call your abuelita. And even if you can't call her, FaceTime her something, because she's lonely. And if she is like my mom and she's actually in a nursing home, they don't have any other way to contact you except through phone and FaceTime, if you've given them the tools. I made sure that my mom knows Facebook, Instagram, FaceTime, all that stuff, like, when they all first came out. So now, no, it's just but now it's like I talk to her on the regular, because if she can't get me on the phone, she will freaking Facebook me with video call and be like, I know you heard me calling you. I know you heard your phone. It's just like, okay, fine, whatever. So that's pretty much it to this review. And tomorrow we will be reading. We're gonna go for a. Let's see. There's this cute little book. It looks like it's very cute, but I don't know if the author is actually a, yes, she is. Cool. So I want to read this because I believe it's YA. At least I hope it is. It was under the YA genre, so at least I think it is. You know what? It might not be. I really should do this before I come on the channel. I always say that I'm going to, and I wind up wasting so much time. But then I always forget at the last minute too. So that one I don't think was a YA. So, Let's see. Yes, okay. So actually, tomorrow we will be reading a YA because we haven't had one in a pretty good while. I'm gonna check that other book to make sure it's not a YA. So this will be the back burner if not. Okay, it's called Ghost Trail, Ironwood Academy, and it's by Casey Morgan. She is an indie YA author, but I'm thinking this might be more NYA because the girl looks like she's like 17, 18 years old, but who knows? Anyway, so this will be tomorrow's book. And that's pretty much it to this review. Thank you guys so much for continuing to watch. Stay safe, stay healthy, be happy, and I will see you tomorrow with a new review. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share because we need the viewers out there watching this as well. And then click that little bell so every time we upload a new video, you will get alert. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Love bunches.